Hello and welcome back to another, let's call it video of, finding freedom. I mean, I know this isn't in 4K, but that takes up too much space or RAM or spam or whatever you want to call it. But let's get into the title. How the world ends up in war. See, because the war is in your mind. And Will Smith has said this before, right? You got to battle the war in your mind, so on and so forth. So as I, quote hustle and things like that, there's a part where Danny Blue tries to just barge in on something. And he's like, oh, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. And he looks at him and he goes, I bet you saw the sting too. And it was very interesting because, a sting could be an operation, right? But it was a movie by Paul Newman, right? And then, of course, you have things like, what is it? Not Daily Wire, but DW, CW, right? That's has Green Arrow and stuff on it. But then you have The Wire, which is a TV show, right? About law enforcement. It's weird, right? So compare the title, right? So think about it. People are pissed off at ICE right now. Think about this from a sociological perspective. They're upset about ICE, but then they hire police to do protests, and the last three letters are ICE, right? Weird, right? Now let's get to the second point. So when it comes to how information and technology was shared, right? See, in the Ethiopian Bible, right, there's a thing that says the ether, the shit to make your soul burn slow. But then you go ahead and you purchase cryptocurrency with ETH, right? ETH, and then you have ChatGPT IO, and then the plan, right? It's all in the details, right? So, you have to think about it, right? Or talk about it, or brag about it, or do something because it's funny. But then we talk about taxes, right? And the taxes are handled by the IRS. But if you jumble those letters up, that spells Sir, right? SIR, and then you have Siri, Iris. But nobody knows how they know, It's so weird. So, why would you need to even call somebody to balance a check when the IRS already knows? So, how do I say this? So they shared a lot of information. Oh, if you want to do this, do this. If you want to do that, do that. So one of the things somebody told me once, which was crazy, not I, Marine, we get called crazy. However, it's interesting, right? Because the fallen angels, and I got this whispered to me by somebody once, said they showed them how to kill an embryo, which is interesting. Now, if you've ever seen the show House MD, he calls it in different stages something, right? Until he has to, go in and then help the baby survive, right? And then the baby's little hand comes out and touches his finger, and you can see his face, and he's like, oh, oh. And he had to rethink his thinking, right? Then you have Hunger Games versus Snowpiercer. Right? So there's a lot of people saying about food and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then I go to the gym and I see all these guys walking around there, drinking their protein shakes and stuff like that. But if you go and search, protein comes from worms, right? Just like in Snowpiercer, the bars came from roaches. Google it. I'm just saying, you can. And then, of course, this brings me to, not just, what is it, the Secret Service movie, Kingsman, right? So in the first one, something happens, but in the second one, they utilize technology, everything else, so on and so forth. Then the golden circle, right? What is it? The golden rule, right? So on and so forth, etc. Treat others the way you want to be treated. This, that, and the third. Let's see here. And then this leads to, disruption, right? So if you're using technology, social media, devices, TVs, which your phone could look like a TV, as Gary Vaynerchuk once pointed out, this is now this and this is now that, or whatever. It's not this, it's not that. Some people might say, remember, it's a lamb, not a ram. And then you don't understand where lambs come from because, the ram looks like female uterus. I think. Positive. Sure. I guess. The fallopian tubes. And then it makes like a Y, like a flux capacitor. It's fucking crazy. Right? But people don't always know everything, right? So the reason why I state this is because, well, if we're the stories we are told and the stories we believe, and the word devil dog came from the Germans, well, that's weird, isn't it? Is it not? Why would they say that? And why would they call us the devil unless something was there already to let them know what that meant in their language? Because devil is lived backwards, is it not? Now, media used to be referred to as the air, as something else was looked at as the way. It was once called the way, if I remember. Studying history books. If you watch The Librarian, I think you can watch it on Amazon Prime and a couple other places, whatever your favorite platform or application is, right? So remember, knowledge is not powerful unless you apply it. So remember, your apps can assist you, right? And so, not the Appalachian Mountains or whatever, but the way, right? So, what is Fae, right? F-E, right? Some people would pronounce it Fae, right? Faith. You've played Final Fantasy. They have the faith, so on and so forth. That can then be broken down into religion and then segmented down and so on and so forth. And then if you don't have the faith or whatever, well, are you spiritual? Yes. But then I heard a lyric and it said, if you see me spitting at you, I'm trying to get rid of you. And I remember somebody spat on somebody that played Captain Kirk, and then Charlie Kirk got shot, which was weird, right? So weird. I mean, he was married to a beautiful blonde, so on and so forth. I think they got a divorce. She's rich now. It's a long story. But I don't remember Kirk actually getting married, if you guys remember that. And maybe it's in a different thing, because when I saw Star Wars, in one side, the female took over, and on the other side, Luke took over, and he established a couple things, right? So let's talk about this, because Fae could be pronounced Fee, right, or Phi, right? But when you say Fidelis, you don't say Phi, do you? Semper Fidelis? Oh, Semper Fi, yeah. Oh, it's Semper Fidelis. Well, how do you spell that exactly? And enunciate and pronunciate it. See, Pop Smoke made a song called AP. I thought he looked like Michael B. Jordan. Then they came out with the movie Sinners. And it was just this crazy thing, because the same thing took place, if I remember correctly. See, in the movie, there was a kid that had a lyre, or he was playing a banjo or whatever. And then Michael B. Jordan's character, so on and so forth, going at it, he was trying to get to the kid. He was like, you know how much money we can make off that? But then, the same thing happened in the book of Clarence. You know how much money we can make off that? Do this right now. Perform, monkey boy. Right? And then it actually worked. And they said, thank you. We've been looking for somebody like that, because we were told to take him in, so on and so forth. And his ass ended up on a cross or a crucifix, whichever one dictates which other. Right? Because one's a sword, or looks like one. Like, you ever seen, like, when the knights, they put the sword in the ground, so on and so forth, and it looks like a cross? Kind of like boots. Right? And then you take your rifle and you put it nose first into the ground, and you put the helmet on top. You know what I'm talking about? Similar concept, right? But there's no body there. Why? Why is it that there's no body with the weapon? Think a sword of stone, right? King Arthur, right? So, I mean, you really have to look at, like, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy VII. I mean, in Final Fantasy VII, he was battling Seraphim or Seraphoth or whatever. He had the long sword, if you guys remember. And then you got Final Fantasy VIII, where they had the card games like Yu-Gi-Oh, right? And I think he even had, like, the hair part, so on and so forth. And then they rode on a train, and he got a boy with, like, red hair, and he got a cowboy hat on with a leather jacket. He shot a shotgun or some shit like that. Then you got another motherfucker, but, like, it was crazy, right? You got to enjoy these things, right? See, me and this guy that I knew that we nicknamed Tony the Tiger because of the tattoo on his calf. Tony Graham, if you're out there, was good. And so, one of the things that I noticed was that, like, some people don't know when to stop, and they don't know when to stop until they experience something, right? So, like, even when we, like, would play fight and spar, like, I saw blood on my hand, and then I saw I hit him so hard because we were play fighting. And I said, the fight's over. He goes, no. But we've been fighting for a minute, and I knew the fight was over. That's why I said stop. But then I had an interesting experience in the military, or somebody got me in the same grip that Tony did, right? So he had me in guard, right? If you know jujitsu, you know what guard is. And then he started squeezing his legs. And I felt the same energy from him that I felt from Tony, right? It's kind of like if you know the ranks, it's like battling a purple belt. And they're like, I'm not going to be easy on you. I'm like, no. I know what you're doing. You're not actually doing anything. See, I've grappled with black belts, and that's a fact, right? So I was like, adults are like interesting children because it's like, oh, what if I do this? What if I do this? What if I do this? But the thing that I appreciate about jujitsu is that there's always something to say, and that is called tap, right? Sorry, I used to have a chipped tooth right here. I don't know. Brian ended up fixing it because somebody else messed it up, but then I got this tooth here. And things just started getting weird. So, no camera tricks, but let's keep going. So, let's get into this, right? Because I know tricks, right? I mean, who doesn't know tricks? I mean, if you came to North Carolina, who doesn't know tricks, right? It's a magic convention. And so, it was one of those things where I was just like, all right, why is it that all this crazy shit started happening when this came in, right? Because I said people ask me, oh, were you in the military? Yeah, my contract ended 2020, and then things went downhill from there, right? And so it was just like interesting. So if one thing's supposed to be done on one side, it can be done on the other. But if I went to the veteran hospital and something happened, then I went to the civilians hospital and something happened, and then I went to other places. So it could happen to anybody. And if it could happen to anybody, what makes you think you could get away with something that what? Children should be seen, not heard? Uncle Sam's Misguided Children? So it's really interesting because, there was a whole conflict in Final Fantasy VII. And, if you study certain books or Star Wars, you have Order 66 where they kill people, right? But then you have the Catholic book, that's 73, right? I don't know, figure it the fuck out, right? And then you have other books, right? And then you have a hotline, right? You have a hotline in some place, right? With like a month or a year or like a digit, something like that. And, when I told you guys about Hustle and BBC with Mickey Bricks, it was funny because that similar concept played out. And not only did it play out, because Mickey in the first season took a bat to a guy. That's the only way he ended up in jail, by the way, apparently, allegedly. Was because he walked in on his wife sleeping with another guy in their house. And so he took a baseball bat to him and almost beat the guy half to death, right? In his house. Not his apartment or somebody else's apartment, in his house. Okay, no problem. He got carried away, so on and so forth, right? Now, could you get away with saying stuff without doing a physical action? Could you get upset and do something because your BPMs, your blood pressure, your anger, your emotions, because energy and motion, as Tony Robbins says, blah, 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 is energy and motion, which moves stuff through your body, right? Can make you want to take an action like a call to action or a CTA. If you've been to ClickFunnels, you know what I'm talking about. And if you understand Go High Level, you know what I'm talking about. If you know how to build or work a funnel, you know what I'm talking about. Because the funnel fills the pipeline. If that's true or not. Not sure. But there's different quality leads, right? In marketing. So you have your raw leads, then you have your marketing qualified leads, then you have your sales qualified leads, right? And this guy that I know used to say, tag it, bag it, and put it up for sale. And I was like, that's interesting, right? Because you have your raw leads, your marketing leads, so tag it, bag it, right? And then put it up for sale, your sales qualified leads, right? So what are they trying to sell you? Are you that ready, right? Are you that ready to do whatever it is that you're going to do or that you want to do, right? It's like a 3-step process, right? But not everything goes in threes and not everything means the same thing. So thank you for watching this video, right? V-I-D something, B-I-N-G-O, whatever you want to call it. I once had a guy say, if I, he looked at somebody who was like, do you want me to die? I need my Hershey Kisses. And I just started laughing. I was like, aha. You ever had somebody look at you and say, what do I do? I say, go over there and take care of this person. Don't talk to me about death or try to make fun of it. Anyways, I will talk to you guys later because I am excited and finally I am getting on this very day, as Planet Fitness, on this very day, lesson 50 of class and the last one for the flag, if that's how many stars are up there. Talk to you later. That's why you get half when you get a divorce. Peace.